Good afternoon. My name is Simon Guido Koch. I'm the CEO of Ellie Constant Group and its Singapore office. Today, I'm going to briefly talk with you during 2 to 3 minutes about setting up a business in Vietnam because since over the past few years, our company has assisted many multinationals, many entrepreneurs to set up their company in Vietnam, usually in Ho Chi Minh City, a couple of times also in different locations, including Hanoi. And thanks to that experience, we have learned a few tips about starting a business in Vietnam, especially from the perspective of a foreigner. So the first thing to notice when someone is setting up a business in Vietnam is that there's significant differences between setting up a business in Vietnam as a local, a Vietnamese citizen, and setting up a business in Vietnam as a foreigner. So that's the case in many Asian developing countries, Singapore, Hong Kong, and a few other locations being the exception. And in the case in Vietnam, it's particularly significant because all foreign invested entities, that is to say entities with foreigners holding the shares of the business, are required to obtain a local document known as investment certificate that's issued by the Vietnamese Department of Planning and Investment after usually review by other departments which depend on the exact business activities of the company. And in order to obtain that document, the exact requirements will vary depending on the size of the project and the nature of the project. So, for example, a foreigner willing to set up a company in Vietnam in order to, let's say, run a business selling cosmetics will be subject to very different requirements to obtain the same document than if he were to operate a manufacturing plant or supply services to Vietnamese customers. So, in particular, one of the differences will be the paid-up capital. So on our website, we often mention that firstly, there's no official amount of paid-up capital, and secondly, that this one will differ from, depending on where exactly the investment is taking place in Vietnam. Different locations will have slightly different requirements in terms of paid-up capital, and also depending on the scope of activities and the exact size of the project in Vietnam. So that's why before setting up in Vietnam, an important tip is to conduct research ahead, to be aware of what are the exact requirements to set up your specific business in Vietnam, because that's very much at the discretion of the Vietnamese authorities, and it's important to engage our services first for us to assess what are going to be the paid-up capital requirements, which once again can be from low, 10,000 USD, to fairly high. It can go into the hundreds of thousands for the larger projects. That's it for today. We'll probably publish a few more videos about Vietnam business setup and other types of setup over the coming days on our website. Thank you very much for watching, and well, take care.